The tremor started in Jordan's left hand as they reached for their knife, a gentle, involuntary shake that was as much a part of their daily reality as a breathing. But as they positioned the blade against the onion and began their first cut, something extraordinary happened. The tremor didn't disappear, but it transformed into something else entirely, channeled into a rhythm that created knife work of impossible precision and beauty. When they looked up at Gordon Ramsay with eyes that held both determination and quiet pride and said, "My hands shake, chef, but my heart is steady," the entire MasterChef kitchen fell silent with the kind of awe that transcended competition. And in that moment, 15 cameras captured something that would redefine not just a cooking show, but everyone's understanding of what precision, adaptation, and unshakable focus could achieve when guided by pure passion. The cameras kept rolling, but this was no longer about culinary competition. This was about a 26-year-old chef with cerebral palsy who had spent their entire life developing cooking techniques so innovative and precise that they challenged everyone's assumptions about motor control, consistency, and what it meant to create perfection in the kitchen, and what happened when that excellence left a legendary chef speechless with admiration. It started as the most technically demanding mystery box challenge of the season. 8 contestants remained after weeks of grueling eliminations, each one representing the highest level of home cooking talent. The MasterChef kitchen gleamed under studio lights, every surface polished to television perfection. Gordon Ramsay commanded the space with his signature intensity, his white chef's coat pristine, his energy focused on identifying the most precise and skilled remaining cooks. "Today's mystery box," Gordon announced, his voice cutting through the kitchen's electric tension, "is about absolute precision. You'll need to demonstrate knife skills, delicate technique, and the kind of consistency that separates good cooks from great ones. There is no room for error. Precision, consistency, perfect knife work." For most contestants, it was a challenging but manageable task. For Jordan Rivers, standing at Station 7, it represented something entirely different, another chance to prove that precision had nothing to do with the absence of tremors and everything to do with the presence of unwavering focus. Jordan stood with quiet confidence in their chef's whites, their slight frame showing the subtle motor patterns characteristic of cerebral palsy, gentle tremors in their hands, occasional involuntary movements in their shoulders, the kind of neurological differences that had shaped their entire relationship with physical tasks. At 26, they carried themselves with the bearing of someone who had learned that limitation was just another word for innovation waiting to happen, what the cameras captured but didn't sensationalize, what the producers had documented but hadn't exploited, was that Jordan had mild cerebral palsy that primarily affected their fine motor control. They'd spent their entire life developing workarounds, adaptations, and techniques that transformed what others might see as disadvantages into approaches that were often superior to traditional methods. "Your time starts now." 7 contestants immediately grabbed their mystery box ingredients, minds racing through techniques and preparations. Jordan approached their box more deliberately, their movements showing the characteristic, careful coordination of someone who had learned to work with their nervous system rather than against it. They selected ingredients that required intense precision, delicate fish that would need perfect knife work, vegetables that demanded consistent cuts, components that would showcase whether someone could maintain accuracy under pressure. As Jordan began their initial preparation, something remarkable became apparent to those watching closely. The tremors in their hands didn't disappear when they started cooking. They transformed. What had been involuntary shaking became a kind of controlled vibration that, when channeled properly, created knife work of extraordinary precision. "Interesting technique at Station 7, Gordon murmured to Aaron as they watched Jordan work. There was genuine professional curiosity in his voice, not about Jordan's condition, but about the innovative methods they were demonstrating. Jordan's knife work was unlike anything Gordon had seen. Instead of fighting against their tremors, Jordan had developed cutting techniques that incorporated the natural rhythm of their motor patterns. The result was knife work that showed incredible consistency. Every piece exactly the same size, every cut perfectly uniform. "Behind you, hot!" called Marcus as he moved past with a searing pan. Jordan's spatial awareness was extraordinary. They tracked kitchen movement through sound and peripheral vision, maintaining perfect safety protocols while never breaking the rhythm of their own work. Their adaptation to the kitchen environment was seamless and professional. 20 minutes into the challenge, Jordan was preparing their fish with surgical precision. Their filleting technique showcased adaptations that had become advantages, specialized cutting angles that maximize control, grip modifications that transformed tremors into stability, and cutting rhythms that produced results that were actually more consistent than traditional methods. Gordon said, approaching Station 7 with genuine professional interest, "Your knife work is exceptional. Tell me about your technique." Jordan looked up briefly, their expression focused but enthusiastic. "When you can't rely on perfectly steady hands, you have to understand precision differently, chef," they explained, their voice carrying the slight hesitations characteristic of cerebral palsy but filled with confidence about their cooking. "Every movement has to be purposeful. Every technique has to be adapted to work with your body, not against it." Jordan gestured toward their cutting board, where perfectly uniform pieces of fish lay in geometric patterns. "I've learned that precision isn't about the absence of movement, it's about channeling movement into consistency." Gordon watched as Jordan continued their preparation, and he began to understand that he was witnessing something unprecedented. This wasn't compensatory cooking. This was evolved cooking. 30 minutes into the challenge, Jordan was working on delicate sauce preparation that required constant whisking and temperature monitoring. Their approach was remarkable. Instead of trying to eliminate the tremors, they had learned to use the natural vibration to create emulsification and texture development that was actually superior to traditional whisking techniques. "How do you maintain such consistent sauce texture?" Gordon asked, watching Jordan create what appeared to be a perfect beurre blanc with techniques he'd never seen before. "The tremors actually help with emulsification, chef," Jordan replied, their focus never breaking from their sauce work. "When you learn to work with the natural movement instead of fighting it, you can create textures that are incredibly smooth and consistent." Jordan's technique was genuinely revolutionary. The constant, gentle motion created by their cerebral palsy, when channeled correctly, produced emulsions that were more stable and sauces that showed better development than traditional methods typically achieved. "This is incredible," whispered Jennifer to another contestant. "They're not just adapting to their condition, they're using it to create better results than the rest of us." Indeed, Jordan's approach was producing outcomes that seemed to surpass traditional techniques. Their proteins were cooking more evenly because their monitoring methods incorporated constant, gentle movement that prevented hot spots. Their vegetables showed perfect texture because their cutting consistency was mathematically precise. Their sauces demonstrated development that spoke to understanding texture at a molecular level. 45 minutes remaining," Gordon announced. Jordan was building their final dish now, and their plating approach showcased the same innovative adaptation. They had developed presentation techniques that incorporated their natural movement patterns to create artistic arrangements that were both beautiful and functionally superior. Their plating showed precision that challenged conventional understanding of fine motor control. Every element was positioned with mathematical accuracy, every sauce was applied with artistic intent, and every garnish was placed with purpose that created visual harmony. 30 minutes remaining, Jordan began the final preparation phase, and this was where their unique approach truly shone. While other contestants showed signs of stress that affected their precision, Jordan's techniques actually seemed to improve under pressure, as if the intensity of focus channeled their neurological patterns into even greater consistency. Their final dish coordination was extraordinary. They were managing multiple elements with timing precision that impressed professional observers using adapted techniques that maximized their neurological patterns rather than minimizing them. 15 minutes remaining. Jordan was putting finishing touches on their dish, and what Gordon witnessed challenged every assumption about motor control and culinary precision. Their final garnishing showed accuracy that would be impressive for any chef, achieved through techniques that transformed neurological differences into advantages. 5 minutes. Start thinking about final presentation. Jordan made their final adjustments with the same systematic precision they'd shown throughout the challenge. Every element was positioned with scientific accuracy. Every detail was perfected through methods that showcased how adaptation could lead to innovation. Time! Hands up! Step back! Jordan stepped back from a dish that looked like it belonged in the finest restaurants in the world. Perfectly prepared fish with complex accompaniments, vegetables that showed ideal texture and mathematical consistency in their cuts, and sauces that demonstrated sophisticated technique and flavor development. The judging began, and Gordon approached Jordan's station with the other judges. Even before tasting, it was clear that something exceptional had been created through methods that defied conventional understanding of precision cooking. Gordon cut into Jordan's fish, perfectly cooked throughout, with ideal texture and temperature. The vegetables showed knife work that was more consistent than most professional chefs achieved. The sauces demonstrated balance and complexity that spoke to deep understanding of technique. Gordon took his first bite, and his expression changed immediately. The flavors were extraordinary, but there was something else, a completeness, a precision that spoke to cooking that had been executed with almost scientific accuracy. Every element contributed to a whole that was mathematically perfect, yet emotionally satisfying. Jordan, Gordon said, his voice softer than usual, this is exceptional work. The technique is flawless, the precision is remarkable, and the execution shows a level of consistency that I rarely see from any cook. Jordan waited attentively, their slight tremors visible, but their expression showing quiet confidence and pride in their work. But beyond the technical excellence, Gordon continued, I want to understand something. You just executed knife work that showed perfect consistency, created sauces with ideal texture, and plated a dish with mathematical precision. Your motor control techniques seem to have created advantages that go beyond traditional methods. Gordon looked directly at Jordan. How did you develop this approach to precision cooking? Jordan's response would resonate in that kitchen long after the camera stopped rolling. Chef, when I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy as a child, everyone focused on what I couldn't do, Jordan said, their voice showing the speech patterns characteristic of their condition, but filled with quiet determination. But what I learned was that my brain and body work differently, not defectively. The kitchen was completely silent now, every person focused on Jordan's words. When I started cooking seriously, I realized I had two choices, Jordan continued. I could spend my energy trying to cook like everyone else, or I could discover what precision looked like when approached from my perspective. Jordan's expression grew more passionate as they continued, their tremors becoming less noticeable as they engaged with the topic they understood better than anyone. What I discovered was that perfect precision doesn't require perfect stillness. It requires perfect consistency. And when you learn to channel natural movement into consistent patterns, you can actually achieve better results than traditional methods. That's when Jordan said the words that would stop the competition and change everything. My hands shake, chef, but my heart is steady. And I've learned that when your heart is steady, your hands can create miracles. The silence that followed was profound. Several contestants were openly crying, moved by Jordan's eloquent wisdom and the beauty of their perspective. Camera operators seemed affected by the raw inspiration of their words. Gordon stared at Jordan for a long moment, processing not just what he'd heard, but what it meant about precision, adaptation, and the nature of excellence itself. Behind the scenes, Gordon made a decision that was unprecedented in MasterChef history. Jordan, Gordon said, his voice thick with emotion, in 30 years of professional cooking, I have never encountered someone who has redefined precision cooking to the level you've achieved. Gordon stepped away from the judges' table and approached Jordan directly. What you've shown us today isn't just excellent cooking, Gordon continued. You've revolutionized approaches to consistency, precision, and technique that could change how we think about motor control in professional kitchens. Gordon extended his hand to Jordan, who shook it with their characteristic gentle tremor, a tremor that no longer seemed like a limitation, but like a signature of innovation. Jordan, you're not just safe from elimination, Gordon announced. You've earned something that recognizes not just your skill, but your revolutionary approach, a guaranteed place in the finale, because you've shown us what precision looks like when it's redefined by innovation. The kitchen erupted in applause, but Gordon wasn't finished. More than that, Gordon continued, Jordan, I want to offer you something. I want you to work with our culinary training team to develop programs that help other chefs understand that precision comes in many forms. Your techniques could change how we teach consistency and motor control. Jordan's composed expression finally showed deep emotion. Tears began sliding down their cheeks as they processed what Gordon had just offered, their tremors temporarily intensifying with the emotional overwhelm. Thank you, Chef, Jordan managed to say, their voice thick with emotion. That means more than any competition could ever mean. What happened next was unlike anything in MasterChef history. The other contestants abandoned their own concerns about advancement and surrounded Jordan, not with pity or awkward sympathy, but with genuine respect and admiration for someone who had just expanded their understanding of what precision and excellence looked like. Jordan, watching you work today completely changed how I think about consistency, said Marcus, his voice filled with awe. Your knife work was more precise than anything I've ever seen. You've shown us that there are different paths to perfection, added Jennifer. Your techniques aren't just adapted, they're superior. Gordon watched the group surrounding Jordan and realized something profound about the nature of neurodiversity and culinary excellence. What we've learned today, Gordon announced to the entire kitchen, is that the greatest precision often comes from those who are forced to rethink fundamental assumptions about how precision is achieved. Gordon approached Jordan one more time. Jordan, I want to ask you something, Gordon said. What would you say to other people with neurological differences who might think those differences prevent them from pursuing culinary excellence? Jordan considered the question seriously, their face showing the thoughtful expression that appeared whenever they engaged deeply with topics about neurodiversity and cooking. I'd tell them that different doesn't mean defective, Jordan said, their words punctuated by gentle speech patterns but filled with conviction. Our brains and bodies work differently, and when we learn to work with those differences instead of against them, we can achieve things that neurotypical people never could. Jordan's expression grew more passionate as they continued. Don't try to cook like everyone else. Discover what excellence looks like when you approach it from your unique perspective. Sometimes the most beautiful precision comes from the most unexpected methods. The kitchen was completely silent as everyone processed these words. But most importantly, Jordan concluded, I'd tell them that consistency isn't about eliminating movement. It's about channeling movement into purpose. When you find that channel, magic happens. Gordon stood quietly for a long moment, and when he finally spoke, his voice carried a weight that surprised everyone. Jordan, Gordon said, you've just taught all of us something beautiful about what true precision really means. The episode, when it aired, became more than television. Culinary schools began developing programs specifically designed for students with motor control differences. Restaurants started recognizing the unique strengths that different neurological profiles could bring to precision cooking. Medical schools began studying Jordan's techniques to help patients with motor control conditions, but perhaps most importantly, the episode changed how people thought about cerebral palsy, about motor control, and about the difference between disability and different ability. Jordan went on to win the entire MasterChef competition, but by then the victory was almost secondary. They'd already achieved something more valuable than winning a cooking show. They'd proven that precision has many forms, and that sometimes the most beautiful consistency comes from learning to dance with your differences rather than fight against them. Today, Jordan runs a culinary training program specifically designed for chefs with neurological differences, helping them discover how their unique neurology can become their greatest strength. Their restaurant, Steady Heart, employs chefs with various motor control conditions and has become renowned for the extraordinary precision that comes from adapted techniques. Above their kitchen hangs a photo from that MasterChef episode. Jordan with their mathematically perfect dish, Gordon with profound respect in his eyes, and the other contestants surrounding them both with genuine admiration. Below the photo, a simple plaque with the words that define their journey. Precision is not about stillness. It's about channeling movement into purpose, because that's what Jordan Rivers taught everyone that day, that the most beautiful cooking often comes from minds and bodies that work differently, that precision has nothing to do with the absence of movement and everything to do with the presence of purpose, and that when your heart is steady, your hands can indeed create miracles.